SpaceX is gearing up for a crucial milestone in its Starship program with Flight 8. And despite the setbacks that came with the previous flight CEO, Elon Musk remains incredibly optimistic about sticking to the planned timeline. The implications of Starship Flight 7's milestones and challenges open the door to deeper questions about the future of space exploration. What does this success mean for SpaceX's plans to rapidly scale their launches to achieve 25 Starship flights in 2025? For those who may have missed it, the seventh test flight of Starship ended in a spectacular failure. But what followed wasn't just a corporate scramble to figure out what went wrong. It was Elon Musk's bold insistence that this mission wouldn't set them back too far. In fact, he's determined that SpaceX's Flight 8 will go ahead as scheduled, and some are already calling it a potential turning point in the Starship program. But first, let's back up and talk about what happened during that disastrous seventh flight and how it's setting the stage for an even bigger, more refined mission. It was Thursday afternoon when SpaceX launched its seventh Starship test flight from the company's South Texas facility. The stakes were higher than ever. Just hours before, Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket had successfully reached orbit, inching its way closer to SpaceX's territory in the space race. The Starship vehicle was carrying mock satellites as a test payload, and SpaceX had made major upgrades to the spacecraft, including a taller structure and internal improvements to avionics and propulsion. These were the kinds of tweaks SpaceX believed would get Starship closer to a fully operational system that could support actual missions to space missions that could carry both cargo and people. Everything looked promising at first. The Super Heavy booster lifted off and achieved a successful landing after completing its mission, something that had eluded SpaceX during Flight 6. The booster's recovery was a huge win, proving the capabilities of the system in catching and landing the reusable first stage. But just minutes after this triumph, disaster struck. Starship, the actual spacecraft meant to carry out the mission, ran into problems shortly after launch. The video feed cut out, and telemetry data showed a series of engine failures. SpaceX had hoped for a repeat of the success seen in the previous flight. Instead, what followed was a rapid breakdown of the vehicle. It wasn't long before Starship disintegrated over the Caribbean as it attempted to re-enter the atmosphere. The bright flash of Starship breaking up in midair lit up the sky over tropical regions, turning into a spectacle for people in places like Puerto Rico and Turks and Caicos. Elon Musk, ever the optimist, took to social media, sharing footage of the explosion and joking, "Success is uncertain, but entertainment is guaranteed." It wasn't the tone anyone expected after such a dramatic failure. But this was Musk's way of showing that setbacks wouldn't stop SpaceX from pushing forward. So, what exactly caused Starship to fall apart so suddenly? The answer lies in the details Musk provided afterward. Preliminary analysis pointed to a leak involving the oxygen/fuel mixture in Starship's internal systems. This leak allowed pressure to build up in a part of the spacecraft where it wasn't supposed to. This overwhelming pressure couldn't be vented out fast enough, causing the spacecraft to explode. It's important to note that while the destruction of the spacecraft was catastrophic, SpaceX did learn valuable lessons. The internal changes to the system may have been the cause, and Musk suggested adding fire suppression to the affected area and making design changes to help with venting. He's confident these fixes will improve the chances of success in future missions, especially with Flight 8. With SpaceX having faced such a dramatic failure on Flight 7, you'd think the company would be cautious moving forward. But Elon Musk isn't one to shy away from a challenge. In fact, he's already made it clear that he believes Starship Flight 8 will happen on schedule, despite the setbacks. This confidence comes from a mixture of factors. For one, SpaceX has continued to prove its ability to learn quickly from failures, and implement fixes for the next test. And while there's a huge spotlight on Starship right now, especially with the world watching after Flight 7, Musk's belief in his company's ability to recover and improve has never wavered. SpaceX is currently in the final stages of preparing for the next flight. They're tweaking designs, reinforcing weaker areas, and making sure that the vehicle will be even more capable this time around. If all goes according to plan, this next flight could be the one that takes them a huge step closer to their goal of orbital flights and eventual crewed missions to Mars. Here's where things get interesting. The FAA, as usual, will be reviewing the failure of Flight 7, especially given the public safety concerns that came with the debris falling over a wide area. The FAA's investigation process could result in delays for future flights, but Elon Musk remains optimistic that these setbacks won't stop Starship Flight 8 from lifting off in February. Musk is familiar with the FAA's process, having faced delays in previous missions. In fact, his frustration with the FAA's regulations is well known, but in this case, he's confident that the necessary adjustments and inspections won't push the timeline back too much. Part of Musk's confidence comes from his close relationship with the incoming presidential administration. The FAA reports to the executive branch, so there may be political pressures at play that could expedite the review process. If all goes according to Musk's plan, SpaceX could have Starship Flight 8 up and running before the end of winter. Why is Flight 8 so important? For starters, this is the test that will push SpaceX even closer to their goal of making Starship operational for actual space missions. The previous tests have been critical in identifying weaknesses, refining the design, and understanding how the system performs under real-world conditions. But Flight 8 will be the one where the stakes are higher than ever. If successful, Flight 8 could solidify SpaceX's role as the leader in the commercial space industry. The ability to launch a fully operational Starship vehicle could open up new possibilities for crewed missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. It will also make SpaceX a key player in launching large-scale payloads for NASA and other government agencies. Beyond the technical aspects, Musk's vision of using Starship for space tourism, interplanetary travel, and even making humanity a multiplanetary species is still the long-term goal. Flight 8 will provide the foundation for all of these dreams, bringing the world one step closer to realizing a future where humanity doesn't just live on Earth, but has a presence across the solar system. Starship Flight 8 represents not just another test flight for SpaceX, but a critical moment in the race to make interplanetary travel a reality. Elon Musk is known for his bold ambition and unwavering optimism, but even he faces significant challenges in getting Starship to work flawlessly. Flight 7 was a setback, but it didn't crush Musk's spirit or SpaceX's momentum. As always, he's looking toward the future, determined to make the next flight a success. Whether Flight 8 will launch on time in February or be delayed by FAA investigations remains to be seen, but SpaceX has shown time and again that they're willing to adapt and move forward, no matter the obstacle. As we await the next launch, one thing is for certain. SpaceX will continue to push the boundaries of what's possible, and the world will be watching closely. Stay tuned for more updates on Starship Flight 8 and beyond. Don't forget to hit that like button, smash subscribe for more jaw-dropping space updates, and join us as we embark on a cosmic journey like never before.